So first of all, ma'am, I want to talk about your journey. You studied film editing first from LV Prasad, Chennai. So how was the experience there, and why, did you? It was masters or graduation?
Okay, so actually, before going to Chennai to study film editing, I studied mass communication from Kurukshetra University, and I wanted to be a journalist, an environmental journalist to be precise. That's why I joined mass comm. And towards the end of final year, I was getting inclined towards films. I read a book about Satyajit Ray in the library, and I was very fascinated by the world that he used to. I had not seen any of his films, but I was fascinated by the process. So I I was leaning towards it, and I wanted to explore more about films. And then I also worked as a journalist with Dainik Bhaskar in Panipat for some time. Then I had to go back home. My home is in place called Vikas Nagar, which is near Dehradun. So I had to go back home, and there I worked as a freelancer with Hindustan Times, and like small few pieces I did in my own hometown, and that was slightly different because when you do something in your own place, you have to see it with different eyes, which you're not used to, like objective, because your home is like subjective and so used to. And while I was at home, I was prepping for film school because I got convinced that yes, this is what I wanted to do. So I applied to multiple places, and I also applied to Jamia MA there, and I got in at LB Prasad Chennai, and it was a 1 year course. So it was a diploma. So it was not a post grad diploma. It was a diploma. So you could also do it after school, like after +2 at that point of time. And it was a combined course, editing and sound design. So I was interested in editing. So I joined. And it was, I would say, like a world opening in a way, because I didn't have much exposure in terms of films or film studies, uh, uh, to that extent. So the people around me were like, they were coming, like a lot of people had experience. Like I had batchmates from Bombay, Chennai, Dhanbad, Hyderabad. So lot of them had experience, prior experience of working in some sense of video or film or in visual communication in that sense. So I also felt out of place sometimes because I was like, oh, this is a new world. But I carried on. I learned by looking at them, and we had a wonderful teacher, Ranjit sir, who passed away recently. He was our HOD, and so it was fascinating, like how you could tell, uh, you could evoke a different emotion just by the way where you put a cut, So for me, that was very fascinating when I was there. And from there, it just started. I wasn't sure what I wanted to really do. Like, I was studying editing, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna be editing, and that's what I'm gonna do. But how's the journey gonna be like in films? And we were in Chennai and then Mumbai, and we had heard these stories, good or bad, about like how it's gonna be and what kind of grind you have to go through to kind of uh, find your own place. So that was scary as well. So as soon as I finished my diploma, I got a call for a job in Chennai. So they were shooting a Tamil Telugu. Uh, it was a bilingual film with Nagarjun. It was called Payanam in Tamil, and Gaganam in Telugu. And they were, and it was like those early years of digital. I'm talking about 2010, like mid to late 2010. It was like early year of digital had just come. They had shot few films in digital in South. And So it was pretty new for everyone. It was even new for us because in the film school we were still working with film, right? 16 and 13 and for us, we had a workshop, and they were with red camera technicians, and they were talking about ProRes, and we were like, what is ProRes and how does it even function? Like, I'm talking about that time. And you're like, okay, let's see. So when I got a call, the same people who were doing this workshop, they called our professor and said they're looking for some people to kind of train and work with them in the digital workflow side of the film. So two of my batchmates, when they were not sure what it was, or they were not keen on doing this, I was like, okay, let me just go and see what's happening. And basically, so they had finished a schedule in Manali, and they had shot on multiple cameras like Red and 7D and SI2K. And the work at that point of time was to prepare the files for the editor, like, the proxies for the editor. So you had to kind of convert everything so that editor can use it. And I was like, okay. And it was like completely new. I had to just learn everything from scratch in that. And I kind of enjoyed doing it, or I was like, okay, at least I have a job. Because when I was in film school, I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do after this. So I was like, okay, I'm going to hold on to this. And this is something new, and which I'm learning. And at that point of time, I didn't even think, okay, this is going to be the future. And, it's good I am in it right now. No thought like that now. And in the hindsight, I think about it, that how apt the moment was, that I was doing this, and that was also the start of digital filmmaking in the country or the world around. So that was very interesting, and to kind of go through that process of, okay, how are we preparing files. And then soon after a month, they were going to shoot a new schedule in Ramoji, and they invited me to be like data manager. I didn't know it was called data management at that point of time. They said you can be a data manager, as well as you can also edit. So, like a on-set editor. And at that point of time, we didn't even know that it's somebody else's job, because for me, it was like assistant editor's job to kind of offload and to convert and edit and prepare the file for the main editor. So I went there and I was doing that. We would shoot like 3 scenes a day because it was a set. So we were shooting 3 scenes a day. I was offloading, transcoding, and editing. So next day morning, I will show the director 3 scenes. And uh, and then after the shoot finished, they kind of, I stayed on with the project. So they wanted me to kind of help with the team who was taking care of the full digital workflow, because we also, it was a VFX heavy film, and we had two VFX vendors, one in Hyderabad and one in Chennai, and the grade was happening in Bombay at Reliance, what was, it doesn't exist anymore. So and that point of time, for VFX workflow, we used to base grade. So there was a thing like, you will take the raw files, and the colorist will do kind of like a basic balance of exposure and contrast. It used to be called base grade, and then they will export the file for the VFX, and then VFX will work on it, and it will come back to the grade. So that was the whole workflow, and I was part of the workflow where I would get files from the editor, like EDL, XML, and offlines, and I would kind of prepare files which would go to the grade in Bombay, and segregate them, like, because different sections would go to this vendor and this vendor. So it was, I was like in the middle of all of this, and it was exciting. It was complicated as well, because we had like multiple languages, and then the edit would just keep changing. And so that was like a big learning ground for me. And then the grade was like, now the VFX is done, and the final leg of the project is to be done in Bombay. The grades to be done in Bombay. So they sent me here to kind of coordinate everything. And I never left. I came here in January 2011, and to supervise the full workflow of the film at Reliance. And they put me up, and I was like, okay, this is it. And the only person I knew in Bombay was Shah Muhammad, the editor. I had met him during our convocation dinner. And so I called Shan. I said, Shan, I'm here, and anything you have, I'm ready to do. And he was very kind. He put me in touch with Deepika Kalra, and she was working on a film, and she said she's looking for an assistant. And I was like, okay. And that's how it all started in Bombay for me in 2011.
Ma'am, can you explain what does an assistant editor do? Because
Yes. So the role of a assistant editor is to uh, prepare everything for the editor to start immediately as soon as they enter. Okay, that's the role of an assistant editor. So now you will get the files from the set. So you will get like a transcoded file like proxies, because we are shooting like 4K raw, 6K raw, which are very heavy file and not editable. So there is a role called data manager or a DIT, and it falls under their work profile to create these proxies, which are basically low resolution files, but it contains all the metadata of the raw files. Okay, so they will convert that low resolution proxy files for the editor. So the assistant editor is going to get these picture, like the video files and the audio files from the sound recordist, and they will get the reports from the script supervisor, like a script continuity reports. And they will set up the project in a way they will sync it, because we have files which are separate and not married. So they will sync the audio and the video. And then they will also label it in a way the editor prefers. So generally, it's like scene, shot, take, as per the script and the script supervisor. And they will also mark, like, in the script continuity report, they will mark this is okay for the director, or first half is okay for the director, second half is NG, or uh, it's good. Like sometimes they'll say good, okay. So you add all those comments. And also, if there are comments like there is a boom in the frame, or there is a person walking in the background, so all those reports they will add in the comment. So when the editor is editing, they also know, okay, this is a good take, but there's also VFX work in it. Also, somebody's passing in the reflection, so they're going to add all of this in the comment. Now then the editor would and some editors also prefer, like, you do a lineup, like a basic following the script. You'll put this shot and different shots from the scene, like a basic lineup. And then you editors will come and they'll start editing. And then there are also part of their role is, now there is a preview going on with the director and the producer to take notes. And once the edit is logged, and then you need to send a file, say for the grade or for sound, so prepare those files. Now you need to also kind of get sound effects, because you also create like sound design in the edit. So you will source the sound effects and place it as per the instructions by the editor, or editor wants a particular kind of a music track, like a temp track for the edit. So is that, so the assistant editor job is to kind of get all of these things together so that the editor can edit in peace. So it's like, assist, like full assistance in that sense. So that's how I started working with in 2011 in Bombay, and I worked with multiple editors, and really I had the best time working with these people, because this is the first people in Bombay I'm working with, and I'm also like learning from them various things, like uh, how they are uh, working as an editor in terms of craft, but also like how they are also treating their assistants, right? How so, because we had heard all these horror stories, so I had like the best editors, and that's what I try to pass it on somehow. I feel like I worked with Bakul, Deepika, I worked with Shan on a film, and I had the best editors to work with. Yeah.
Ma'am, then how the transition happened from editing to colorist?
Okay, that's so basically it was very fluid. Like it was never like a hard stop or a hard beginning. So I was working on a film with Shan Mohammed, which Sabal Shekhawat has directed. It's called Fireflies. So, so I'll tell you this. When I was in my college, like final year of college, I had read Shan's interview, and so there used to be this career page in Hindustan, like Hindi wala Hindustan. There used to be a career page, and there was this article on editing, film editing, and it was Shan's interview, and uh, he had just edited Jaane Tu Ye Jaane Na, and he talks about the full process, and then he also talks about Frozen, this film that he had uh, edited, which Shankar Raman had shot. So I had just heard all these names. So on Fireflies, I was assisting Shan, and Shankar Raman was the DP of the film. And that's when I met him, and I was like, oh my God, I have, like, I've just read about all these people, and I'm around them. So when I was working on Fireflies, and I was assisting Shan, the director of the film, Sabal Shekhawat, he and Shankar sir, they were going to do a music video with Indus Creed, and they were going to shoot on red camera. And when they were discussing it, I was in the office, because that's where I was set up. My editing room was in the big picture company office, and they Shankar sir just casually asked me, do you know anything about red camera? And I was like, yes, I had worked on it in my previous life. And I said, yes, I have worked with it. So he said, okay, we are going to shoot this in the red camera, and you come on set and do your, like, backups and conversions. And I asked Shan was like, okay, and I just went on set. That was like going first time I went to a set as data manager. And then it was the beginning of it. And then Shankar sir liked the idea of having a data manager who can handle all the files and make sure the metadata is intact and can transcode it with a appropriate lookup table, because when you shoot log, it's a flat profile, right? So it doesn't look the way it's supposed to look, so you have to apply a transform to it so that it looks correct when people are editing. So but he started calling me for shoots, and I was just going there like a side gig, right? And it was mostly like ads and stuff. So I did that, and he would come to me, and on the computer in Resolve, we were using Resolve for transcoding. He would just do a little bit of grade on it himself, and then he would tell me, you can just paste on this whole scene, and I would just do that. And slowly he started asking me to do it, like, okay, do you put a little bit of blue in the here, or reduce the exposure a little bit, or so I would just do it. I was like, okay, I knew a little bit because I had seen him doing it. And then and I was enjoying it. And on the side, I was also like assisting on projects. And then my first film was Island City, Sylvester Fonseca. So Sylvester and Shankar sir have the same team members. So Sylvester was going to shoot his first feature, Island City, and he asked his focus puller, Pradeep ji, and he said, I'm looking for somebody to take care of all the data. And he said, let's call Mahak, and she works with Shankar sir. And I met him, and he said, I want you to grade my dailies. And I was like, I have no experience in grading, and I am can do everything else, but uh, he said, okay, you'll be fine. Let's do it. And he showed this confidence in me, and I was like, okay, this is a good project. And it was Ruchika Oberoy's first feature, and it won Best Debut Director at Venice Film Festival at that point of time. And I was like, okay, let's try doing this. So I actually sat down, I opened Resolve manual, I opened Resolve, and that's how I learned. It was Resolve 8 at that point of time. So I was like, okay, if maybe if I learn the software, maybe I'll know what he's asking me to do. so so I started from there in 2013, and it was a fantastic experience. And so I would, like, I'd be on set while they're shooting. I'll be sitting on the monitor doing the QC, whatever I kind of like, when you go on set first time and you're doing QC and somebody asks you, is the focus okay? And in the beginning, I didn't even know what does that even mean. Like, how do I even see if it's like in focus or not in focus? So it was my like training ground. Like, because I've all till now, till then, I'd only worked with people who wanted me to be there. So they were all ready to kind of teach me, like all these projects with Shankar sir, and he would give me like assignments, like, here you have to check focus. And I was like, okay. And then he would teach me like what does it mean. And so I'm just learning because I'm not from a cinematography background, right? So I had to kind of learn how this imaging thing works. So there also I had picked up a bit of stuff, so I was able to kind of be on set and give my notes if something was off. And then I would offload and I would do the QC. The QC is basically quality check. So when I'm offloading the files, then I'm going to check each and every clip. I'll play it back and I will check there is no glitch. There is no jump in that sense in terms of exposure or focus. If there's anything can happen. So it was my responsibility to keep in check, and if there's anything, give them the note. So then they would be like, okay, this happened, so we'll be careful. And then uh, ideally I should be grading at the end of the day, but we didn't have so much time because we were shooting in Bombay and it was like a rush. So we will have like a break in a week, and Sylvester will come to my house, and we would sit and go through the grade of the full week. And then I would start exporting the files for the editor. And this gave me a lot of confidence because Sylvester was happy and he was like, this is good and you're doing well. And I was like, okay. And he said, why don't you grade? And I'm like, okay, I can. Like, I also was enjoying it. And I was like, okay, let's try this. So I at that moment I reached out to Neil Sadwelker. He had a studio, and I had just sent him a message on Facebook that I am starting to also grade, so if you have any job in that sense. So he had said, yes, a documentary is coming and I'm gonna call you. And I was like, okay, great. And meanwhile, Sylvester called me to do a short film that he had shot with his friends, Deepika, the editor I had worked with, and Sukumar, her husband. And I said, okay, Sylvester, but I have not graded anything. He said, you'll be fine. So we went to his house. I took my laptop. We hooked up his TV. And that's how we graded like 30-minute or 40-minute short film. And I was like, okay, this is uh, great, but I don't know how long I can keep doing this. Um, then Neil Sadwelka, he called me for this documentary, The Last Edu, by Shabnam Sukhdev. And that's the first time I was going to like a proper grading setup. Like it was a proper getting grading setup, and there was no DP who's going to supervise like because The Last Edu is a documentary which she made about, like it was about Shabnam's relationship with her father, and it was a very beautiful documentary. I really liked it. Uh, uh, Technically, it was shot over multiple years on multiple device, like different cameras, different formats, different frame rates, and so it was uh, uh, like a difficult task for a beginner, like because everything is so the first job when you're doing a documentary is to make everything consistent, right? So to kind of bring that consistency was the main challenge. But the film was so beautiful, I was so drawn to it. And Shabnam called Shankar Raman to be the supervisor on the grade, and I was like, oh my god, I don't even know how to do that. And I'm using mouse. Okay, so they had a panel, they had a engine wave panel, and I'm not even touching it. I am using the mouse because I'm just so scared. This is all new for me. And Shankar sir comes and he's like, why are you not using the panel? I said, I don't know. And he's like, if you use it, you'll know it. I said, okay. And it was fun. And he would tell me like, he would give me like, let's just kind of make the faces look nice in the sense that when you are looking at a shot, you look at them and you're not distracted by anything else. So till I actually started grading, I didn't really know what you're looking at it. Like I knew technically you can do lift, gamma, gain, offset, saturation, but when you look at an image, what are you doing in that? So that was like, okay, I picked up ki acha, now I have to make sure that when we are looking at a shot, we are not distracted by anything else. And I just so like you just latching onto one thing after another. So I was like, okay, pick this. And so last edu I graded, and it was a beautiful experience. I'm still like in touch with Jabeen. I worked on so many projects with her. I worked with so many projects with on Shabnam, and I continued, like still continue to work with Shankar sir. uh, so that was like and then from there I got a little bit of confidence. So I started like getting small jobs. I was still doing working on my laptop. I did a short film. I think it was a diploma film of Anuj. He made a film called The Manliest Man. So I graded that. I graded bunch of music video, like indie music video. I did a documentary and a short film with Colin Dacuna. It was like early at that point of time. And then at the same time, Shankar sir was going to shoot a feature film, Rocky Handsome, and I got on board as a DIT. So by that time, I was able to call myself a DIT, and I was learning more about like imaging, and so that was like a fantastic experience and another learning ground for me. We were there for a long time. It was like a long shoot, and we were shooting in Hyderabad in Ramoji city again, and there I learned like I learned like not just to be like a technician, but I also learned what it means to be on set, and what it like holistically what it means to be a part of a crew, what it means to be a part of a team, what it means to be a filmmaker. Like he would tell me, whatever you're seeing in the frame is your responsibility. Otherwise you would do like this is, but I would say, but this is directors direction departments, and this is production production department or this is art department. He said, no, everything on set you're gonna see is your responsibility. And now you're gonna figure out how you're gonna do it. So I would run around. I see a red chair. Okay, move the chair, move the people. Just whatever I would see, I would. So uh, I had not felt that kind of sense of okay, what it actually means to create an image, right? And so usually I was doing the full same thing. So I was like doing the QC. I was on set, and we have first time I was shooting where we had multiple cam setups. So we had two cameras, right? So like to make sure that the settings in the both cameras are same in terms of all the codec setting, but as well as like your white balance is same, your tint is same, your everything kind of looks same when you see it on the monitor. And so that was main responsibility. And then I would offload, and then I would do a full QC, and then I would grade. Now I was like, I was grading end of every day, and take his feedback, take Shankar's feedback if there is, and then prepare the proxies for the editor. And there was this one scene, I talk about it often. There was this one scene where we were using a lot of smoke. Okay. And he gave me this responsibility to maintain smoke continuity. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And that was the hardest thing I've ever done, like till now, I would say, to able to maintain smoke continuity on set between takes and between shots and even between cameras. So there was one scenario where, uh, so Tojo was the second cam operator, Tojo Xavier, who I graded Rapture with. He shot Rapture. So Tojo was the second cam operator. And so there's a beam of light coming, and with the smoke was filling up that beam of light. Very beautiful. So one camera was this side facing the light, and one camera was the opposite side. So I got the smoke ready as per the previous shot, and the camera moved the other side. Now, from this side where we could see the light, the smoke looks nice and everything. From the other side, it's less. So one of them is telling me, Mehak, there's most lot of smoke, and one is telling me, where's the smoke? And I am like, but this is the smoke we had in the previous setup, and this is like by eye, like I'm judging by eye, or sometimes I would also play back and see. So I that's the that was like my learning ground, and I was like, okay, this is, you can't make everyone happy, like in life you can't please everyone. So I was like, okay, I didn't know at that point of time ki, let's not take this shot, let's just take this shot, and then I will fill up for this shot. I didn't know that, right? So we were just figuring that out. So it was fun. They were having a lot of fun seeing me in this miserable position, like my whole camera crew. But it was fantastic. How to work as a team, as a depart, and not as a team in the camera team, but how to work as a filmmaking unit. I learned on that set. So like that was really amazing, and I met like a lot of people I'm still in touch with and still working with. Uh, and after that, Shankar sir directed another film, Gurgaon, which Vivek Shah shot it, and I went on set with him. And now I was in Vivek sir's team, not on Shankar sir's team. And there also, like we had the same responsibilities and grading. So, and I was still on the side doing edit work. So all this while I'm still kind of, I would come back from a shoot and I'll take up like a edit job. So it was like, I'm trying to tell you that there was never a hard stop. And I would go on set, and I would just come back and I'll get like a job to kind of do some edit work. Even I was involved in the post of Gurgaon. Like I would also at one point doing some stuff after Shan had finished editing, like. So um so it never ended. And then 8 years ago, uh I met Siddharth Mir from Bridge Postworks. So he was at that point of time. running the company from his from a second room of his house. So he had a setup, and he was looking for a colorist, and he put it on Facebook. There was no Instagram, and he put it on Facebook saying looking for a female colorist. Okay, so he mentioned, specifically mentioned female colorist. And at that day, on that day, I was on a set with Avinash and Archana Kangrekar. I was a DIT on the set in Film City, and Archana had worked with Sid, and Archana said, Sid is looking for a colorist. You should meet him. And then a lot of people like Hemanti Sarkar, Jabeen, a lot of people who knew Sid and knew me put my name there, like Mahak, and then also messaged me that you should meet Sid. And uh, I called him, and Sid said I was waiting for your call. I was like, okay, great. And next day I was traveling, so I went to see him at the end of the day, and it was like nice. And I was like, okay, we'll do this. And then since that day, we have been working together. Like I have been working at Bridge Post Works, and it's been great working with Sid, learning from him, seeing him how he even talks about it, like how he even talks to people, like how he that was about, because I was sitting behind him, he's grading. So I'm also seeing how he's reacting to when the DP is saying it's too bright, or the DP is saying it's too dark, or DP is saying can we make it a little moody, or can we not have so much impact, like sometimes they would use words which you don't even understand. So I am just sitting in the background, and I am seeing him reacting to this. He doesn't so Sid is a person who doesn't talk much, like he during his session, like his is the quieter room, mine is the one where all the chit chat is happening. So he doesn't like, he would not talk. You have to just grasp, you have to observe what he's doing. So if you can observe and be present, you can learn so much from him. uh, and you have to then keep asking questions. Okay, what did you do, how did you do that? So he patiently taught me everything. Like he was using a different software like Nukoda, which I didn't know anything about. He taught me how to do this, how to do this, how all the connections work. Not that I got everything when he taught me, but he patiently taught me again and again how these connections work. This is a because I it was like a setup, like a studio setup, because they had like a raid and the server going on, and it was all new to me. There was a calibrated monitor, and he showed me how calibration works. And so he showed me patiently how everything works. And I am kind of learning. And then he would give me like some jobs. Like he started giving me some jobs that were coming for him, and I was like, okay, great, I would do it. And it was fantastic just working with him in that space, because he gives you so much space when you are with him. He gives you so much space, and you can just find your own way. For he works that way, like every teacher has a different way of inspiring. So he inspires by doing and just giving you space. So that was fantastic. And still, while I was working with him, I continued editing, and I continued going on set. So there was never a hard this thing. So slowly, the more I kept working in the color and the DIT zone, slowly, the edit thing kind of faded out. I still get calls because people have saved my number as Mahak Gupta editor, So I still get calls I got a call last year, like, I said, I don't edit anymore. And so there was no there it was very fluid. And uh, so and it is still fluid. It is still fluid. I still go on set. The last time I went on set was to 2019. We were doing Suitable Boy. So I was a DIT, and I was doing the live color. uh, and uh, and I also now teach. color grading. Like I go to film schools and do workshops with cinematography students where we talk about the DIT and color grading. And so it's still fluid, and I think I would like it to be that way, to keep it fluid and two different things and I think that's how the filmmaking is also done. Like when I was working with Shankar sir on Gurgaon, like he learned After Effects. He taught himself After Effects, seeing YouTube, because he wanted to send the film to festivals, and there was not yet post of the film had not started. You know, with independent films it's different. Like until and unless it is post has started, you can't do the special effects. So he wanted to send the film to festival with the special effects. So if there had to be blood, he learned. If there had to be muzzle shot, so he learned how to put it. He know he When he was preparing files for the festival, because it's difficult. Like making independent films is difficult. So after a point, you kind of have to, like, a lot of people, not only him, a lot of people I work with, they do everything. So he was also putting like a lot of sound effects. So he would put the muzzle flash in After Effects, and then he would come in FCP and put the muzzle flash sound on it. So I am surrounded by people who are doing multiple things. Like so everyone, and he's a director, and he's a writer, and he's a cinematographer. And then when I look at Sid, so Sid was running this place. Okay, so he was like entrepreneur, and then he's a colorist, and then he's also he knows so much about uh, everything digital, everything workflow, calibration, and you are seeing this person and just creating workflows, so I learned from seeing people that it doesn't, there's a box of being a colorist. So how much, like I was told at one point of time, like somebody told me, like if you continue to go on set and work as a DIT, maybe people will not take you seriously as a colorist. And I was like, maybe that's how I want to be. Like I want to be this hybrid person, and I enjoy doing it because whatever I'm learning on set, because set is all about problem solving, because you have to be on your feet, and then you have to, something comes to me, you have to figure out how you're gonna solve it. And those things that I'm learning on set, I can use it in post. And when I'm in post, whatever I'm learning, so I can, when I'm set, I'm like, we don't have time to do this, it's okay, let's go. I can put this flag in post, because I know I'm coming from the studio, I know I can do this in post, so you don't waste 10 minutes because light is going. So so I will kind of like to be in that zone. And same way when I'm teaching, when I'm doing all these workshops, so my all my classes are different from each other in so many ways. Because say I'm going after 3 months, I have done so much in 3 months, and I'm in so many ways a different person now. I have learned so much. So now it all gets incorporated in my class. So I think it's continuous learning, and also using what you're learning in different, whatever you do then.
Right
Yeah,
now we have how many colorists in the industry? Are there many?
there are many colorists in the industry. Yes, there are many colorists right now. I don't have a number, but we have a good deal of colorists. And in every industry, like not only in Bombay, but in Chennai and Kerala and Hyderabad and Bangalore and Delhi, uh, and in Calcutta. So wherever you have film industry, you have like post houses, and also people are knowing more and more about it, like like uh, about what a colorist does, what's the job of a colorist, and what they can bring. So I think there is more awareness also. And now what is, because of filmmaking and uh, the storytelling, it's become so much democratic. Like everybody has a access to, like now you can make a film on iPhone. You don't, you don't really need like big camera setups or big edit setups. You can use your phone or use your DSLR and edit on your laptop. And so people are kind of like youngsters like you. They are making films that they, because they have stories they want to tell. And then like how you are trying to learn like what all goes on behind the scenes in making a film. So people are curious and they are seeing, okay, and they're reading about it, they're learning about, then they hear what is this color grading, and then they would see some film and let's say, how can I make my film look like this film? So I get numerous emails and messages and DMs from so many youngsters. I'm not able to reply to all of them, but I get so many DMs where people are saying, how can I learn this, how can I learn about this, and how can I make a career in color grading, or I want to do it myself, or I am stuck at this one point, how can I deal with this? And when i was when I was learning, like I, at that point of time, like I didn't have such resources which we have now. So there is no film school in the world where they are teaching color grading as such. So I feel very motivated to when I go to these workshops and I teach. So I want to continue doing and much more of that, because so that they all because there's so many people who want to learn this, and which I didn't get. I want people to more people to have access to that understanding, ki acha, because what has happened now is ki since there is internet and there is this, so what is also happening, we have so much to read, we have so many resources that one can kind of get overwhelmed. And then one can maybe read something which is maybe the third step, but you're reading it as a first step, so you are kind of but that's how I learned. So didn't not do I didn't have like a proper learning curve where I start from the beginning and I just learn whatever I got my hands on. So I want to kind of create a chain of, like, okay, you go from here, and so that you understand everything, and so that you understand the fundamentals, and you are not directly going to, okay, what is aces, you know उससे पहले बहुत कुछ है, like, you know so get from the basics of, and then step by step. So I always try to kind of say ki, okay, maybe you might get something that is correct, but where you are in your learning curve, you might get confused about it, or you might maybe it you might read something which is half, and it doesn't give you the full picture, and you think it's the way it is, because there's not one way of doing anything. So this is a very important thing, because I will tell you, set up your project like this, start from the create your look first, and then start from the contrast exposure. So this is one way of doing it, it's my way of doing it. I want to do it this way, and it works, right? But it doesn't mean if you meet somebody else and somebody else has a very different way of doing it, is that incorrect? So you have to keep your mind open as well to kind of learn, and then find what works for you, and then find what works for this particular project. We are continuously learning it, we are constantly continuously at the studio having this conversation. Okay, this is a project and it has this requirement. So say I did a project where we were working with archival footage, like a lot of archival footage. Now, how you gonna set up a project which has a lot of archival footage, but then a lot of other cameras coming together? So you kind of create a workflow. So the workflow you create is designed for this particular project. It might not work for something else. So if you know the fundamentals, like what is it, how do you set up a project, what is the color management, then you kind of create your own workflows and you kind of create the full ecosystem. So those first principles, I feel, we need to set right. So long winding answer to your
No, great,
straightforward question.
great, great. Ma'am, then you work with Achal Mishra. in Gamak Ghar and Dhoon. So how was the experience there? Can you please tell me?
Oh my God. It was I would say Gamak Ghar has been or is the milestone film in my career as a colorist. I still get people messaging me. I still have people messaging me about they saw the film, how they loved it, how they connect, and it has been continuous since the film came out first in Mami, and it's been very rewarding. It's that one project which keeps on giving. I still get work calls where people say we saw Gamakar, we want to work with you, and I should be giving like commission from each project to Achal and Anand for for bringing this lovely film to me. So I actually was grading a short film Rammat Gammat, which Ajit Pal Singh, Tabbar fame, had directed, and Tojo had shot it. Tojo Xavier, and because I had worked with him on Rocky Handsome and Gurgaon, he asked me to grade that film, and there was a patch shoot which Anand had done for that. So when we grading it, so Tojo asked Anand to come and kind of see his section as well. So that's when I met Anand, Anand Bansal, and then Anand messaged me one day. I was on the set of Lela. Uh, so I was DIT on Lela. And when I was there, and he messaged me, said, Meg, I've shot my first feature and I want you to grade it. And I was like, okay, I'll come back. I'll see you. And he messaged me twice. I'm happy he did. And I said, yes, I'm not back yet. And it's been postponed. And I came back and we met in a cafe near my studio, and he told me about the film, the story of the film, and he showed me images. Like he showed me the full film in images, and he said, and he's showing me, and I am by the end of it, I'm just all welling up, and I'm like, okay, this is a beautiful film, and I loved how it looked, how they shot, and what it was about. Like I was thinking about my house when I was telling him about my first house, and where I grew up, and it's not there anymore, and I always had this regret that I didn't even keep a brick from that house. And when I saw this film, and I was like, somebody is you know trying to save it, like this memory of that house where he spent his childhood, and his family came together in that house, and so I was like very emotional. Like I remember I walked back to the studio and I met Sid, and I said, Sid, I don't know about anything else, but this film we have to do. And Sid said, okay, let's do it. And that's how it started. And then I met Achal and I watched the film, and it was beautiful. And it was fun times because it was fun. Malab, it's fun times in a way because I am like exploring and I'm learning and I'm not sure because it's the beginning years. I'm just starting to grade. So you are kind of, you don't know what's gonna happen. When you see the image, you don't know where it's gonna go, what's gonna happen to this. So you sit down. It's like sometimes it's like a blank page. So you don't know what's gonna happen, what's gonna be written down. So for me, there was so much possibility and there was so much emotion inside me for the film, for the story. And these wonderful people like Anand and Achal, like working with them, it's been so amazing over the years. And so Gamak Ghar, it's so you have seen the
Yeah,
film.
yeah, yes.
So the first part of the film, the 1998. So they were telling me about, there was these family album they had, and they took like some they were looking at it for a lot of references in terms of framing, because the first section, the 1998 section, was like looking at a family album. So I said, okay, why don't you share it with me, those images that you were looking at uh, while you were prepping for the film. And he shared, and I said, okay, let's create something like this, because that's what you're trying to create, like in grade what we can do. So we kind of, so a lot of those images had uh, like, the magenta, how the old film images kind of, when you just, they just stay after a point, they get like this magenta. So we kind of started, and uh like, also another thing is that I'm not too much a fan of very perfect images, like everything in its place perfect. So I kind of like, so it was like, so we kind of was creating, and I can tell you this now, but at that point of time I was doing it intuitively. I didn't know about this myself. So we were like contaminating the images like with magenta. So we are, when I'm saying contaminating, like, the blacks are clean, but I'm like kind of putting in color in black or this magenta. And there was a version of the grade where in different setups we had put different different color in the shadows. So one would have a green in the shadow, or one would have yellow in the shadow, and one would have this reddish, like deep red, tea red. So we had created a version like that because we were trying to kind of see how we can come close to these images. And there was and there was also this idea of, there was one of the images where we have these leaks, so from one side you will have a light leak. And so we were like, okay, let's try to do this. So if you see the film, you would notice, like in the first image, where we have the titles coming in, on the right hand side there is a yellow leak. So there's this a patch which is just little yellow and lower contrast. And so we created it throughout the first section, but it was at different places. So if it was yellow here in this particular oval shape, in another shot it will be something long, maybe magenta, maybe red, and intensity will be. So we created like, and after point we started calling it jadoo. For some reason we are like, acha isme jadoo lagate hain, and we are calling it jadoo. And so it was like lot of we tried a lot of things. Then at one point we didn't want to keep the sky the white, like idea of contamination. So we're like, why the white should be white? So I found some plugin, some plug, because I'm learn, I don't know, right? I don't know everything, so I'm trying to try everything what all is at my disposal. So we had some plugin, I'm trying all the plugins, and there was this plugin which would give it like a rainbow kind of effect. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So I put like 10% of it or 5% of it. And I was like, okay, this looks interesting. So it's not visible. So everything is not, you can't see, but you will feel it. So we put that, we put film grain. So we kind of arrived at this, and it took us time. Like the first section took us time to kind of, we also are finding key what works for us and what speaks to us. And in the second segment, a lot of Gamak Ghar is created in prep and in shooting. So they actually shot the three segments in three different seasons. So the first segment, it was memory. It was like, going to your grandparents' house, eating mangoes in summer. So they shot it in summer. They shot the thing in summer, and the how the lensing was, how the aspect ratio was. So in your memory everything feels larger than life, bigger. And then when you go now and you're like, now it's not so big. So that's how they decided the aspect ratios. And so then when they did the second part, the third part, so they actually shot in winter, in around Chhat time or after actual Chhat, in November. And then the third section, which is the fog, they actually shot in Jan when there's fog in Darbhanga. So lot of it, what you see, and the way I have seen their prep material, like they were very, well, it may look like it is not design, and that's the best way to do it. but everything that you see in the film is designed. Like if somebody is wearing a particular color, it's by design, it's not by accident. Even though we had like a lot of non actors acting, it's a design. I've seen their the prep they did. Like, so in terms of lighting, so in the first segment there is sun, so there's always like a source of light. And then they kept removing all of that, so they kept removing warmth, so they shot in winter. There is like browns and blues in the second segment, the way they are wearing it. And in the production design, they painted the walls to stay in that color palette, so that it's doesn't give you that feel. In the lighting, there's no light source hitting like a sunny scenes happening. And in the last part is all fog, and it's beautiful production design. The house actually looks like, it's in uh, a very dilapidated. So what I did, like, I was like, okay, let's kind of, there's this feeling of decay that has happened. Everybody has left the home. Maybe there are not as much celebration happening in the house that used to happen. People have gotten busy. The kids have grown up. After a point, when I grew up, when I went to college, I stopped going to my nani's house every summer vacation, because we didn't have summer vacation, and we were doing like something else in summer vacations. So we added like a hint of green to kind of give that decay. Uh, but a lot of it has been like how they designed it, how they shot it, the lens choices, the depth of field choices. Like the depth of field keeps getting shallower and shallower. So in the first segment, they are seeing deep, you are seeing the background. In the second segment, you are seeing less. In the last segment, you are not. It's just very, very shallow. So the whole design has been, like the way they have designed it, it's amazing, it's beautiful. And a lot of people still call me and say, we want Gamak Ghar. I said, you design it like Gamak Ghar, then we can get Gamak Ghar, or we can get something else, we can create something new. But it's not all in color, it's not all in color grading. It has to come together with everything, like how your lighting choices it, how your costume choices it, your production design and direction and performance, and then it shines. And then we are kind of enhancing it, and we are just saying, okay, this is the emotion, let's see how we can bring it best. So, and over the years with doing, and so since Gamagar, I've done like multiple projects with Anand, so we have developed like a language. So when I say develop the language, so if he's saying महक थोड़ा bright लग रहा है, so I know when he's saying थोड़ा bright लग रहा है, I understand what he means by it. Or if I'm saying, maybe the red is a little too much, so he understands what I'm talking about. So even if a lot of the times we are doing remote grading now, like he's in some city, he's shooting, and I'm here, I'm grading. We're gonna do this on Monday, where he is in another city, and I'm gonna grade something that he has shot. So we have developed a language, so we understand each other. And it's very, very important, I feel, when you're a colorist, like to develop and to understand the language that your collaborators are speaking, and for them to understand the language that I'm speaking. Like sometimes you would say it's too much contrast, right? But maybe you are feeling it's too much saturated. So if I just reduce the saturation, you would not feel that image has so much contrast. So you kind of need to understand what they actually mean, and then what I am how I'm going to interpret it, and then take action. What action I'm going to take. So they are saying it's contrasty, and maybe it's contrasty, but it doesn't mean that I have to just turn the contrast knob. So I need to understand what is in the image that creating this contrast. It could be the color contrast, or it could be just there are on the face there are a little bit more shadows, so I can just tweak it on the face. Or maybe the highlights are too much. Like So you kind of have to interpret it in your way, and that comes when you spend time with somebody. So I like beginning first or two sessions when I'm working with a new DP, like new as in first time, first project I'm doing with a DP or a director. It look, I'm kind of paying attention to what they're saying, and what, you need to kind of understand them, and they need to understand me. Like when I say, okay, uh I feel it's feeling little fluffy, so you would have your own vocabulary. Everybody has their own vocabulary. You just need to understand, okay, what does it mean by being fluffy in there? What does it mean cinematic to you? And what it means, like we use this word quite a lot, like film like or cinematic, but then you have to understand, okay, where are they coming from, which film like they understand, because there can be different film looks, because we had like different stocks, and how do you process it, how you know so what film like they're coming from, which era, like are they like 90s ka film like or 70s ka film like. So you kind of have all these conversations. You need to understand what are the films that they like, what are the kind of images that they like, what kind of contrast that they like, and they understand what, when I say film like, when I say cinematic, what do I mean. So this communication becomes so important uh, with your collaborators, that this is the key, this becomes the key uh, in the project, like how it's gonna turn out. So it's a very important part. So with Anand and Achal's process has been very exploratory, like on all his projects. Like it's not, nothing is like written in stone. Nothing is like, even with his scripts, like he's the scripts are evolving. When he goes, he's like, it's evolving and he's improvising. So in grade also we are, kind of finding finding it. And I like that process. I like that process of arriving at a look. Well, I cannot just, you come to today and you said, Meg, I've done this short film, let's grade it, and I sit on it and I just create something. It rarely works for me. I have to arrive at it, and it's like small things. So with him, like the last film that I graded with Achal, um, called Re. It's called Re. It world premiered at Dharamshala. Re means Pahad, mountain in Ladakhi, and he has shot this beautiful film in the blue hour. The full film is in blue hour. Okay. And now we are like, what kind of blue? What hue of blue? What intensity of blue? And so that was a arriving at process, and what it means, what does blue mean to you? And um and why blue? Why did you choose this? Why did you choose to shoot so? And there were like long conversations, and he had written notes in his diary, and he's reading it to me, like, like, so it was like this blue means distance, and it's like, you always see blue at a distance. Like you look at a mountain, you would see, even though there's no blue, you will see blue at a distance. At the farthest mountain, you will see blue. So it's always maybe unattainable, like you can't touch it. So these feelings. Now it's my job as a colorist to kind of uh, bring these feelings in the image. So it's very important ki, what are the feelings that you want to evoke, and at the same time, what is it I am feeling. So I watch the film, okay, and I sit with myself, what I'm feeling. Sometimes you don't feel immediately, you don't get a feeling ki, what they are feeling, so you kind of have to arrive at it. So in we kind of did couple of sessions to arrive at it, like sharing a lot of stuff. Like I would do something and share it with him. Then he came to the studio, and we kind, okay, this looks the blue that we want. And very, very collaborative. Okay, it's like with both of them, it's very, very collaborative process. It has been. Yeah.
Ma'am, you have also done Tora's Husband by Rima Das and Amidst. So both are SMS films. So please talk about that.
Yeah, so Amiz, uh, I saw the film. So Sham, the producer, and Bhaskar, they had come to the studio and they showed us the film. And when I saw the film, I was just mind blown. I'm like, oh my God, this is mind blowing. And so I was immediately attracted towards the film. Like, I'm the audience. So I would say 90% of the films that I do, I'm the audience. So this has been amazing for me to be a part of such projects which are made for me, like keeping in mind me in a way, target audience. Or I've liked those films. So Amis was one such film, and Riju Das, who was the DP of the film, and uh, so again, it was arriving at. So we are like, okay, very. We wanted to keep it uh, uh, like uh, like a lot of people felt that this could be a very stylized visual film, but this is not how it was designed. So we try to keep it in a very naturalistic zone, like how you're just watching a normal love story, like two people slowly falling in love. And that's how we're like, let's treat it this way. So it was treated that way. It was like from the beginning, at least in terms of color grading. In the beginning, when you start watching the film, it doesn't give you a hint of what you may be walking into. It's like a usual two people slowly getting attracted to each other, falling in love. And then when it kinds of start taking a different direction, then there on we started, we started adding little bit of cyan in the image, like slowly. And there is this one night scene where he's in the market and he's trying to buy this weapon, and then he goes to the hospital. That is the culmination of that. So there you'll see, like, because we wanted that to be very unsettling, because that's how we were feeling, like that's how I was feeling, very very unsettling. So we just pushed quite a lot of cyan in the image at that point of time, because it was counterintuitive at that time, because till then we were seeing a very naturalistic blue and warmth, but here it was kind of deviation. And so we wanted to accentuate it. And we had we had lovely, so we took like a week to grade that film, and we had lovely 1 week, uh, me and Riju, and then Bhaskar came later on and he saw it, he gave it feedback, and we were trying to figure out, how those uh, there are these cuts of when she eats whatever made, and she goes, and there are those small cutaways of when she's flying. So we had like long conversations about, should it be too red, should it be black and white, and how, like, what would a person feel. We're trying to, like, long conversations, and I don't remember what we actually kept in the film, but we had like numerous versions of, and we would play it. And playing, like, grading with sound is very very important for me. Like, I really grade with sound, and we tell my directors that we should have like a mix, like a pre-mix, which is not final, so that I know what is the how the mood of the music is. Like, is it light, is it deep, is it, what is the mood in the music and the sound, because a lot of films, uh like, there's sound design dependent. Like, lots and lots of film, like every film is sound design dependent, but even in terms of the mood is going to only come through sound design. So I wait till I have got like a rough pre-mix file, and then I do like a pass on the images, and for the final mix, I give them like a graded file. So when they are mixed, doing the final sound mix, because see, the film has to marry, like the visual and sound has to marry. They can't be like, say, in the image, I've done like a very strong, very saturated, contrasted look, but the sound is very mellow. It's not going to marry. It's going to be like in opposite direction. So you won't know how to feel about it. So it has to all come together. So it's very important for me to, so we kept, seeing it with sound. We would do like a version of it. And then, so that I remember that we had like long conversation about how a person would feel after eating this, and what kind of, so it was quite interesting. And I remember those days I used to we were making like this herbal tea in the studio. So I would take like lemongrass from home, and ginger and cinnamon, and have and lemon. And I remember Amis as that herbal tea days. And by the end of the grade, I was leaving, and I had this lemongrass tree. I gave that plant to Riju, because Riju loved it. And then after many years, I went to his house. He still had that plant with lemongrass. So that is our memory of Amis, and that this lemongrass herbal tea. And Tora's husband is a recent project, and I have been admirer of Rima's, uh, not only her films, but also her persistence, like how she would just undeterred go and make her films, irrespective of what's happening around, or what are people saying. And and breaking all these norms that people put. No, you have to have a cinematographer, you have to have a different person doing it, you have to have like so many people, but she goes and she does everything herself. I think uh it's so inspiring to see that she is doing so many things. And it may get difficult for one person to do it. So I don't know how she does it. So every time she comes, and I'm like, how do you do it? How do you do so many things at the same time? So it was quite amazing to work with her. So on this, I was a supervising colorist, and I had another colorist, Prithvi Buddhavarapu, with me, and both of us worked on it. So I kind of did like the initial look set, and then he carried it forward and did like lovely work on the film. And as it's the film is gonna show soon in Anurachal Film Festival, where Prithvi is also doing a workshop on color grading during the festival. So it's going to be lovely. I'm excited that people are going to, watch the film and then see how he graded it. So uh, m- m- so all of these projects that we are talking about, and the main thing is like, uh, what I'm getting from each filmmaker is their persistence, is their patience, is their, it's like sometimes you can get low, right? Like sometimes, like I get low, like once a month, or once or twice, 2 months, I'll have this existential crisis of, oh, am I, is it good enough, is it
How
good?
old are
And
you?
then
How old are you?
I'm
Okay.
36. So I'll have this crisis, and I'll be like, and then somebody would walk in, and I would see their energy and the courage and this, uh no, like this patience that they will have, and this, and I will be like, wow, I can also do it. So all of these filmmakers are so inspiring uh to me, and I am like always looking at them in awe. I'm like, okay, this is good, we can do this. Day to day, it's like day to day life, as well.
Fun.
Yeah, yes,
Uh,
yeah, let's talk about
because
testimonial.
I watched like yesterday, I was talking to the director Sachin as well. That's why I really love the film. I really, really,
Yes.
really love the film. So please, can you tell me your experience while working Testimony of Hana? Because I've interviewed the director Sachin, and I recently watched it, and it's about a woman who is been accused by of witchcraft. So, dude,
I want to hear from you. What did you feel about the film
yeah,
when you saw it? And
ma'am, it's really rare to be like if a documentary involves you emotionally, like it's a short documentary and it touch me emotionally, and that's very rare for me. So that's why I love the film.
yeah, okay. So, um, it was it was a really beautiful um experience of working with Rohin and Sachin on it. So I graded the film in 2020 during the lockdown. I had shifted the whole setup at home, and I had never worked with Rohin or Sachin before. So, what I was talking about, sitting, getting to know each other, all this we had to kind of do online during the COVID times on multiple films like Shoebox, same way. And so when I saw the film, uh, I was really touched by the film, and I felt it's a very, very important story that he's saying, that he's telling. And another thing that was fascinating was how he's telling that story. I had not seen people making people making a documentary in this language. So the language that he was using to tell this story was really moved me, and I was really excited to actually another colorist in the studio was supposed to grade it, but he was busy, so I landed there. So I'm like really happy that I did. And Rohin I knew earlier because he had graded the booth at the studio with Sid. So I had met him and we knew about each other. And Sachin had seen Gamak Ghar, so he knew about my work. So we kind of connected online and we spoke about told him how I felt about it, and the way they had shot it, the way it looked, it already was like consistent throughout. So yeah, I'm like, okay, so what are we doing with this? This is amazing and it's so powerful. It's like really powerful storytelling. So what we are doing with it. And so we had like couple of conversations, me, Rohin, and Sachin, and we were like talking about that we want to like really push the contrast and not, well, by the time like the kind of documentaries that I was doing, I was making it like naturalistic, softer contrast kind of a look. And so they were like, no, we'll we'll push it. And then he shared one film with me, and I'll never forget that film. So there is a film called Tempestad. It's a documentary by this I think she's Mexican director Tatiana Hueso, who I have been following since then, and I would recommend people to go and watch her films, Tatiana Hueso. And uh, and I saw that film, and I got it. I got where they wanted to go in terms of pushing the contrast. And then we started, and then they were like, not enough, not enough, let's push it more, let's push it more. And I was like, really, and I was and then we pushed it. And then because when you're not seeing Anna telling her story, you're just hearing her voice and you are seeing these nature shots, I feel I'm more present to her. Like I'm more present to her story. And uh sometimes when you go, like it happens to me sometimes when I go away from Bombay and I go like Dehradun, or I'm traveling somewhere, whenever I'm in nature, I kind of become like little slow in terms of hecticness in your head. You're always like wired. So when I'm in nature, I become less wired, I become more present. So I felt like, because we are seeing around Anna, the nature around Anna, it makes me slow down and listen to her. That's the impact I get from it. That slow down, listen to her, and I pay more attention. I'm more present to her, I'm more present to her story. And it's also kind of, because it's not showing you, it's not recreating what happened. You're hearing her words and you are imagining it. And it's like the verse, you're imagining it, and it's left up to the viewers to imagine what would have happened. And seeing those images, it gives you that room, because you're not looking at her face sitting and telling a story. And then you see her, but in different context, like she's packing stuff for her daughter, like how a normal mother would do. So you, and then you kind of connect with her in that sense, and you see her husband who was with her throughout. So you see that relationship. So for me, it was very, very powerful storytelling. And after testimony of testimony of Anna was my first film, which went to Camarimage in the short doc section. And that was I was like really proud of that. So congratulations to the whole team. Um, and after testimony of Anna, I collaborated with Sachin on his another film, Man in Blue. Yeah, and that was another exciting experience of working with him. And he, like, Sachin is like, he's again like, I'm so blessed with such collaborative directors. Like, he's like so collaborative. Like, he, like in Men in Blue, he would send me scripts, he would send me multiple drafts of the script. We would have like full conversation before whatever tests we need to do. And he was in US and I was here, and the production happened in US for Men in Blue. And we were connected throughout. Like like it was like a full circle, going from script to post. And it was like a wonderful experience. And he's very collaborative, and he will involve you in everything, and he will listen to you, like what you're saying, and he would pay attention to each team member, what they're saying. Because I feel like like all good filmmakers, they uh, understand the value of a team. They understand that one person cannot make the full film, cannot make this film, or maybe make a film, but not the way that he wants to in this, in its full glory. That's how I feel. Like all the filmmakers who uh, are like really telling powerful stories, they understand the value of a team, and the team effort. So it's been amazing to work with Sachin on multiple projects and work with his team. Amazing team both times.
And also you work with All That Breathes documentary, then by
Yeah.
Shauna Saint. It got nominated for Oscar as well. It won at Sundance. So how was the experience there? I mean, it's a huge, huge thing.
Actually, so I when I watched the film was already in Sundance. So we got the edit, and it was like New Year's Eve, I think, or 2 days before New Year's. And we watched the film, and we had very limited time actually to complete the film, because we had the Sundance deadline. And I, s- I saw the film, and again, I would say, like, I'm the audience of the film, and I was really moved by the film, and I'm like, oh my God. And I also felt at that moment, I messaged Sid, because a year before, I had, on the same date, I had seen Writing with Fire, which Sid was going to grade. And I told him, how amazingly, crazily amazing this is, that such beautiful films are coming our way, like such important stories that are coming our way. And that point of time, the Oscar is not in the picture, like for both films. It's the film itself which I'm seeing, and I'm like, oh my god. Oh. And the storytelling, like when you see all that breeds, you're like, oh my god. When I saw it, I was like, okay, I've not seen this storytelling in documentaries, and I was quite fascinated by it. And I'd already worked with Riju on Amidst, and he was and Somu, and so it was. So we started like, I think 2nd Jan or something, like really no New Year's Chutti when we were doing this. And so Somu came in the beginning. Somu came to sit on the grade. And so we were trying to kind of also create like some dystopian look. So we would grade something and we would send it to Shaunak and Ben, who were not here. And so we were trying to kind of feel ki, okay, how can we show this dystopian world, how can we push it, how can we push it. And then Shaunak said, we don't need to push it, the dystopia is already there, dystopia is already in the air. So in grade, we don't need to push it so much. We don't need to kind of add another layer on it to kind of show, okay, see, look at it. So that was we were trying to do in the beginning. And so we're like, okay, let's roll it back. Let's roll it back. And so we had like 3 DPs on the film. So there was Ben, and there was Somu, and there was Riju. So we had to kind of get, and Shaunak, and then we have to get through to, and they were like different countries and cities. And so we kind of had to, so this main thing that we were by the end of it trying to do is like to just make it consistent, and just make sure that at no point we are out of the story because of anything that we are adding. So we are like, okay, let's not add anything. Let's make it consistent. Let's make it as real as possible. Like if you are in Delhi, how you would feel, how would you look around? So it finally, that is where we landed at. And it worked so beautifully. Sid was supervising colorist on All That Breathes with me, and he loved what we were trying to do, and he would give us his feedback for every after every preview. And I think whatever we were trying to do, we succeeded in. Then it was so well shot as well. For me, it was more about just bringing it together. And then it went on to win ASC award, and you're like, wow, this is big. So when the Oscar uh, nomination happened, and everybody was asking, how do you feel? How do you feel? And for us, it was like rewarding, but the real high, or that is that you're feeling when you are actually working on it. Like for us, it's like the real excitement is when you're doing it, and everything else that comes after it, all the awards, all the festivals, all the recognition is a reward on top of that. So it's always like on top of that. So it was it's been, I think it's gonna be like one of those memorable projects that we're gonna keep and carry forward with
Yeah.
us.
Also, like both of the documentaries, they are more like docufiction. We can say it is very stylized. It doesn't feel like a documentary. It feels like a fiction film only, stylistic as well.
Yeah, all that breathes, right? Yeah, it's like how, and like kudos to Charlotte, who was the editor of the film. And wow, like I was mind blown when I saw it. I was like, oh my god, what is this? What is this storytelling? I was like amazed. I was like, wow, I've not seen this. So for me, it was big, and totally like really exciting to be a part of all that breeds.
Ma'am, then also There are two documentaries which you have worked but not released, I guess. Indra's Emergency and Rapture. It
The
is
Rapture is actually a fiction.
okay. Rapture is a fiction, sorry. So please talk about that. Both of them got premiered in Mami, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So, uh, Rapture is a feature film directed by Dominic Megam Sangma, and it is in Garo language. So it was my first film in Garo language, and my friend Tojo Xavier shot it. So Tojo, I have been working with him over years on set and off set in grade, and it was his first feature film. And he was like, "Okay, I'm shooting my first feature film." I said, "Yes, I'm grading it," and and so Dominic and Tojo, they are batchmates from SRFTI, and the whole crew, like Vineet, who was the sound recordist and sound designer, Mohan, who was the editor as well as EP, and Tarun, who was associate cinematographer. They are all from the same batch from SRFTI, and uh, I had seen Dominic's first film, Ma Ama, which is a very beautiful film. Uh, and so when Tojo told me about this film, and we wanted to create like a look for the film for shooting, like even so we wanted to shoot with a look. So we couldn't really do a look test because it was like very like tiny budget film, and they didn't have time to get a camera before and do a test and send me the footage and then do the whole thing. So I kind of created a look based on the similar location, kind of ballparked it, and I sent it to him. I said, "Okay, you shoot like couple of days with it, and then we're gonna tweak it." So he shot couple of days. He sent me some ungraded frames from there. I applied the look and then tweaked it and then sent it back to him. So we did this full workflow for this, and then they edited with that look. And for for Rapture, I would really love to talk about it after you have seen the film, because it's it's so much about how the world building is. So yes, so let's park it. Let's park Rapture, and because it's like you have to watch it and then we can talk about the world building that Dominic is doing and how we are trying to be a part of it in terms of adding this. So yes, so let's park Rapture. I think we should talk about it after you have seen it, and then because I would love to hear from you about Rapture, because it's like one of the most beautiful film I graded in the previous year. um, and I'm really proud of it. And that was it also went to Camarimage in 2023 in debut director and debut cinematographer section. So I was 3 years in a row. So I had Testimony of Anna, then All That Breathes, and then Rapture. Uh, so it's been like beautiful, and I'm really proud of the work all of us have done in Rapture. About Indra's Emergency, yes, that was a very exciting project for me. When Sid told me that this project is coming, and I was like, okay. And I had just finished The Hunt for Virappan, this docu series for Netflix, and I was telling Sid, I don't want to do like any documentary for some time now. And Sid tells me, there's this documentary. I'm like, okay, okay, tell me about it. and I saw the episode. So basically, uh, the series is all archival footage. There is no live footage that is like now shot. It's all archival from different sources, and then there is animation. So I can, since you have not seen it, I can tell you this much about it. But yes, you have to watch it. And so now the main challenge, I would say, in this documentary was, okay, we have got this really old footage. Now, how do we make it look like up, because now we are seeing so much stuff, like all of us, like even people, like not even like film people, but normal people are seeing such good looking stuff, like good quality stuff, right? And so we're like, how do we make it look good quality? And we were also grading in HDR. So when you're grading in HDR, how it's gonna, like the how the contrast gonna look, how the, so we are trying to see ki how, like the first step, how can we gonna make it look like up to the standards. So we are not trying to change it, we are not we don't want to take away the oldness of it, we don't want to take away all the uh, like the nostalgic part of it, we don't want to take away ki, okay, this was then, we don't want to take away that, but still we want to take, we want to kind of present a image which is now cleaner in a way, today's standard, because we are seeing everything so sharp and this certain. So we were like, how can we kind of clean it? So we not take away, without taking away, how can we clean it? So that was my main challenge. And also it opened up like this history lesson for me. Okay, so I also started reading about it, like started reading about emergency, what happened. And so I feel like with all the films that you do, you also kind of know about the world a little more. Be it a fiction or be it non-fiction, you learn about a world a little bit more, you learn about yourself a little bit more, you learn about people around you a little bit more. So this was like one history lesson, when you kind of knew only certain things, and I had not read about it myself, I only knew from when it will become in another context, and from my parents I had learned. So then I started watching it and I was like, wow, this is so fascinating, I should read more about it. So there's a book by Kumi Kapoor called Emergency. So I was like, I started reading that book while I was also prepping for this film. So I and Vikram has the minimum amount of notes that I've had on any film, on any film till now. Minimum notes. And so it was like, he's like, "Tu kar, theek hai?" And I would just send him something, and he's like, "Haan, acha hai, badhiya hai." And then he would just give me two notes. So then I'm like, okay, okay, theek hai. I am, and there's no DP, right? Because it's a, it's all archival and animation. So we also did a session. I forgot her name. I'm s- I'm forgetting her name, but the animator, so film CGI did the whole animation part, and the designer, she had come. So we graded with her like some scene. Some she came and she was like, okay, this is maybe looking a little bit more magenta, maybe a little too saturated. So we kind of did. So that was the first time I was grading animation with the designer, like who created the everything. So that was amazing for me in this project, and to kind of see it all come together was very satisfying. I went for the first screening at Mami and I was like, yes, this is a beautiful piece of work, and I hope it comes out soon. I really hope it comes out soon and everybody gets to watch it.
Ma'am, last question. If somebody wants to become a colorist, what advice would you give in today's generation?
Okay. It's the most difficult question since the beginning. Okay. um I'm gonna think a bit about it. So I would say, if you want to be like, I'm doing this this beautiful course called Ways of Seeing by Flork School of Thought. So Nitesh Mohanty and Sonal Chaudhary, they have started this beautiful space, and they are doing these workshops, and this is a course, Ways of Seeing, where we are, well, it opens our mind and we are seeing at like different art forms, we are, and where they come from and what. So I feel like now after doing this code, like he was telling us today, we had a session, he was telling us like, to make good ads, you don't have to only see good ads, you have to see outside of it. So to grade better, you don't only have to see films. You see outside, you see the world, you see the different kind of art, different kind of art. So I feel it's all start from design. Like the whole filmmaking, it starts from design. So if you learn about like those first principles of design, and I think you can do anything, then you can do anything in terms of you can go anywhere. uh, so I would say, are if you want to be a colorist now, um, one is you are learning your software, right? You're learning Resolve, you are learning or Photoshop or Lightroom, right? Anything. So don't be limited by the tool. Learn it, and the tool should be there to assist what you want to do. Okay. uh, and then you kind of figure out, say you saw some, this is the first exercise that I do in all my class. So you look, you are on Instagram the whole day, right? You're like scrolling, and then at some point you'll stop, and there will be an image. And uh, where you're stopping, stop yourself and ask yourself, okay, what does it make me feel? Okay. And and you will look at light, you will look at color. No, just look at what does it make you feel. And then the second step is you see, okay, what is it in the image that makes you feel what it makes you feel. Okay. So when you are, and it applies to anything, like you are watching a film, you are uh, you are watching an ad, you're watching any video, you're looking at a painting, you're looking at a photograph. Just see what it makes you feel, and then why it is making you feel. So this is like the first step, because you need to first understand how you react to things, or how because say now I want to make you feel unsettled, like I want to make audience feel unsettled. First I need to know what makes me feel unsettled. When I'm adding that cyan, like, so there's a sign in the skin, there's sign. So there's something called color memory. So we have a memory of how a skin should look in any lighting situation, in any even if it's a very stylized, even if it's Ozark, which is like looks very different from everything else. You need to make sure your skin looks where it needs to look in that world, where you can connect with it, where it works for your memory, how the green is going to look. So when you are pushing, now I need to make you unsettled, I'm going to, and I know if I distort something here, you gonna be unsettled. There are multiple ways of doing it. Multiple ways you can do it in the framing. Like some people do it in the framing, some people do it in the movement, some people would do it in the production design, right? Like, so I would say first step is get in, and looking at everything else. Then there are like multiple resources to uh, learn about color grading. Like if you just want to learn about how a Resolve works, you can go to Black Magic website. They have like lot of training, and they also do quarterly trainings, live quarterly trainings, free of cost. And you can sign up for it, you will get email. And they're doing it now, like Feb and March. So sign up for that. So you will get a kind of, I feel that sometimes when you get confidence with the tool, you feel like now you can, kind of do things. Then there are like good resources on mixinglight.com, lowpost.com. They have good resources. TAC have like amazing, like we did some courses on TAC uh, during lockdown. They have amazing sources and courses. There's a wonderful course with Walter Volpato. Amazing course with him. Two courses with him. So there are like amazing. Then I would say, uh, when you're learning about color grading, it's not only about color grading. You are understanding about how everything works in filmmaking. You also need to understand how the workflows work. Then you also need to like how, um I don't know, it's the most difficult question, how to be a colorist. I'm still figuring out for myself how to be a colorist, but I'm like, it's a continuous learning process. So I think you start in this direction. This, and also, I one very very important thing I always tell my students, it's very important where we are coming from, to know about where we are coming from, and then go wherever we want to go. So where we are coming from is like how we used to do color grading. What is the basic of, like, lot of the things that I'm talking about, a lot of DPs come to me and talk about, maybe it should look like Ektachrome, maybe it should look like this 250D, maybe it should look like this particular stock. Now we are not shooting in stock, right? We are very complete different generation. But it's very very important to understand, okay, yeah, how it used to look, how this particular stock used to look, what were the properties of this particular stock, and if you print it on this particular stock, how it will change, how the grain was, how it worked. And so I feel like, since we are not from that time, it's become very very important for us where we're coming from, because it's still till now we are trying to kind of emulate that in some sense, or a part of it, a part of that world we are trying to emulate, like how film used to work. Say a lot of the DPs I work with, they still shoot on film, like still photography they do. And then we are like, okay, how can we create this look in this? So for as a colorist, I'm constantly figuring out, okay, this is a stock, how they're learning. So Kodak website has some amazing resources to understand, okay, how it used to happen. So I think, um it is very very important to understand where we are going, to confidently just go anywhere from there, because then you're not restricted by what you know right now, because you don't know what happened before. So just, I think, that's very important. And um, Kodak website has amazing resource. And what DI is, like, how DI used to work. Um, and learn about cameras, learn about what is log C, what are the properties of log C or S log 3, say, and all the camera manufacturers, they have their white papers on their website. Like if you go to any website, there's something called Learn, and then you're gonna find everything that, so you understand, okay, what is the color science behind it, what is the color science behind how this is working. And once you know that, then you're like, okay, where are you gonna take it? And then it's all about practice. It's not gonna come in first go. Not maybe like every time I start a new project, i I start grading like 5 days before I'm supposed to grade with the client, because I need to get bad grades out of my way. So I'll do something, I like it nice, and then I'll come next day and I'm like, no, it doesn't work. So you kind of have to keep doing it. There's no other way. Make mistakes. Do it, make mistake, do it, make mistake. It's continuous. It needs patience. It's tiring. It's also isolating, because you're just sitting in front of computer and trying to do something in dark room. So keep at it.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's probably the best talk I ever had with someone, like so much detail, so much, such a great filmography you have. I've told you like all the three, it's Gamak Ghar, like crazy, crazy filmography, man. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Akash. Thank you so much.